Good morning. Good morning. It is self-validating Friday. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's self-validating Friday. Good morning. 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 We're live in the group. Good morning. Good morning. It's self-validating Friday, you guys. I am excited that you guys have been a part of this conversation. Um, we're starting off a little late today because I'm starting off a little late today, but nevertheless, this was a great week. If you agree, put a heart in the chat. This has been a great month, right? We talked about this lemons condition where we lack the energy, the motivation, the organizational skills, and necessary supports to truly transform our life, right? And if these conversations helped you to turn some of your lemons, right, into lemonade, drop a one in the chat for me. Drop a one in the chat for me because that is the goal, right? We are here at Project Life where we turn theory into practice, and that is through these bite-sized sessions where I provide you with some insights that I've learned along the way. If you're new here, I am Dr. Little, Dr. Sheila Little. And yeah, so it's Friday, right? It is self-validating Friday. Today's title is Stop Seeking External Approval, right? And start trusting your own voice. You guys, let's take our deep breath. Listen, this is our time, right? No pressure, just your presence. So if you're live now, take a breath with me. If you're in the replay, listen, let's take a deep breath, right? Feel our feet on the floor and just get present in our bodies, right? Because that is essential. A lot of us are moving, a lot of us have so many things going on. So let's just get a moment to get present with ourselves, to catch up with our life, with everything, right? So let's get present. Listen, no pressure, no judgment. And I want to welcome you back to Project Life, where we turn theory into practice, honey, right? Where we turn theory into practice. And this is the life lessons portion of Project Life, you guys. And so every day for the next year, right, to the end of 2025, my goal is to come on Monday and Wednesday, Monday through Friday, and just provide some insight. And then Project Life has a second portion to it, which is our group, our labs, where we discuss, right, everything, every topic that we've talked about. So this week, we talked about necessary supports in the group. Last night, people brought their questions about what it looks like to have necessary supports and what's the struggle, right? So we take it a little bit more personal in that $47 membership. We get a little bit more personal. And again, that's $47 a month for the 4 weeks of insight, right? And so we get a little bit more personal. And then, right, and then we take it a little bit more deeper with the other coaching programs. Good morning, Roosevelt. Good morning, Toto. Shout out to my nephew, Jaden, right? He got the top of his class, you guys. I'm sorry I couldn't make it, but the top of his class. So let's give a shout out to, or top 10. He's in the top 10 in his class. So let's give a shout out to my nephew. Listen, if you've ever felt like you need confirmation from others, believing in yourself, overthinking your choices because you've been afraid of what people will say, struggle, right, to trust your own voice without external approval, then really today's session, listen, is for you. But before we dive in, listen, drop a word in the chat. Drop one word in the chat that describes how you're feeling today. I asked myself that as I was getting ready, and my word was ready, right? I am ready. Ready for what? Ready for the day. One of my coaches was like, we always hear this, stay ready so you don't have to get ready, right term. But one of her ideas was that whether we're doing something or not, just get up and get ready, right? Because what that is communicating is that person that was thinking about taking you out to lunch, right? If you haven't set yourself up and got ready, then they may not call, right? So basically, it is a way that to get up, to get ready. And I know a lot of us work from home and a lot of us may have a little more softer life. So we just get up. We don't really do the things, but let's get ready. So today, my word is ready. Just drop your word in the chat for me. All right. So, um, yeah, this week we've been diving into necessary supports, you guys. Okay. How we ask for help, how we resist it, and how we build supports that actually strengthen us. But today we are moving to the most important support system of all. And that is truly yourself, you guys. That is you. You are your primary, most important, necessary support. We are rewiring your inner dialogue so that we no longer depend on external validation or approval from our worth. Because when your confidence comes from within, you guys, no one can take it away. Nobody can take it away. All right. So our quote for today is you're you alone are enough. You have nothing to prove to anybody. And to end, this Black History Month, that quote was from Maya Angelou. Okay, so you alone are enough. You have nothing to prove to anybody. All right, so let that sink in. Let that sink in for a minute. That you are enough or alone. You have nothing to prove to anybody. You have nothing to prove to anybody. But how often do we live like we do? How often do we live like we owe people something, right? That we need to prove our worth, our value, who we are, right, to other people. How often do we wait for someone else to tell us we are good enough, we're smart enough, we're worthy enough before we believe it, you guys, ourselves? So today, we're breaking from that pattern, right? Because the strongest support system isn't always outside of you, you guys. It's within you. So I know that this week all week we've talked about building a foundation of support, right? So on Monday, we talked about the stories we tell ourselves about why we have to do everything alone, right? And then on Tuesday, we identified the triggers that make us really resist, right? Asking for help. And then on Wednesday, we flipped it a little bit and we flipped the script and we talked about the obstacles, right? Realizing that sometimes, right, they are here to strengthen us. And then on yesterday, we did an energy audit, all right, looking at where our support systems is working for us and where are they draining us, you guys. But today, right, today, we need to talk about this inner critic, you guys, because sometimes the biggest obstacle isn't outside of us, you guys. It's the voice inside that says that we're not enough. Listen, Marcus, again, was the kind of person who needed confirmation because a move, making a move, I mean, he needed confirmation before making a move, you guys. If he didn't hear good job after a project, he felt like he failed. If if the if the supervisor didn't like pull him to the side and say something to him, like he felt like something was wrong. If someone didn't respond to his text right away, he assumed that they were mad at him for some reason, right? He spent so much time waiting for approval from others that he never learned how to trust himself. But one day, Marcus realized something. He had given everyone else permission to define his worth except himself. And the truth is, no amount of praise ever felt like enough because deep down, he still didn't believe in himself, you guys. Um, you know, when I talk about Marcus, I talk about me because one of the things that really drew me to Marcus was this similarity, right? The similarity of this enoughness. And you guys heard me tell this story. I was in this group for a money mindset group to really shift my mindset, my money mindset. And this is like in my early 30s. And I had realized that there was a money story that I had been telling myself that was actually making me treat my money like it was my side chick, right? I need you, I like you, but I don't want anybody else to know I need you and I like you. And I was like really trying to understand, like, why did I have this relationship with money? Like, I would make a whole lot of it, but like saving it and investing it, I just couldn't do that, right? It was like I had a mental block. So even in my account, it seemed like money would come in and it would just evaporate, right? And so I realized that I had like this side chick energy with my money. And but the whole time, but that mentality of treating money like my side chick really came from this worthiness, right? Like growing up and being the quote unquote breadwinner made me feel like, well, if I did things for other people, maybe they would see I'm a good person. If I, um, if I didn't really flaunt my money, like maybe they would like me, right? And so I was doing all of these things to like seek validation, even though I was getting it, like I was getting the praises and I was getting these things, but because I hadn't matured enough to believe that in myself, like nothing nobody else said really could feel that insatiable gap within me of not enoughness. And so when I joined this group, the guy was like, so do you feel like you're enough? And I'm like, no. And so he like chimed in, like, well, we'll make you be enough. And I was like, oh, I still need to, build my business. I need to, do this. And I like had this whole list of stuff that would equate enoughness. And he was like, yeah, but that's not gonna make you enough. And I'm talking about me and this coach is going back and forth about what would make me enough. And I'm insulted. I'm insulted. Like, you don't know my enoughness. Like, I'm telling you that I don't feel enough. And I am telling you that these things on this checklist is the things that's going to make me enough. And he just kind of was like, "Po, baby," in so many words. "Po, baby, listen, I'm about this conversation, but I want you to know that you're enough just as you are." And it was just like this, like, why would he say I'm enough just as I am? Like, he must don't know I need this, this, this. But as I started to ripe, right, as I started to ripen, right, ripen like a an apple ripens, right. As I started to mature, I realized that, yeah, like you are enough. And so um, and so I started to listen to like I am enough affirmations. I wrote I am enough over like in every mirror like of my house, which I got from I think Marissa Pierce, right? Just to remind myself that even though I'm going through this financial issue, even though I'm going through foreclosure, even though like, the house got getting taken, the car getting taken, right? Those things didn't define my enoughness because although I had it, right, I still did not feel enough. And that just really started to shift how I really started to handle this inner critic inside of me because my inner critic, I tell you guys, was the annihilator. Okay. And I came to realize that there was nothing that anyone in this life could have told, anything that anyone could have told me that I hadn't already told myself negatively or positively, right? And so that's when I really took on this, like, your opinions of me and your thoughts of me doesn't really matter because whatever your judgment is of me, I've already judged myself at that level 10 times. Whatever you got to say about me, if I've already said it to myself, right? And really started to strengthen, right, this inner critic and become the support that I needed. And those individuals that saw me on that journey, I think they wanted to do interventions and all of that, but it was a necessary support. Like I had to truly become a necessary support for me so that even God could work in my life, y'all. So that God could even be a source, the source that he was wanted to be, that it was created to be. All right. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, put a heart in the chat. So I'm talking about Marcus, but Marcus's life truly like mirrors a lot of the things that I went through, right? Because, like I said, he realized that he had been giving everyone else permission to define his worth except himself. And the truth is, no matter the praise, right? He never felt like he was enough because deep down he still didn't believe it himself, you guys. And a lot of us were looking for somebody to tell us that we're beautiful, we're amazing, we're awesome, we're great mothers, we're great fathers, we're great workers, we're great, individuals. And they can tell us that, you guys, 1,000 times over in one day. But if we don't believe it, guess what? It's going to be another question. Well, why am I beautiful? Well, what makes me important, right? Because you're still trying to convince yourself to believe the thing that somebody else is telling you that you done told yourself that you need to hear from them, right? Only if, only if my mom told me that I was a good daughter, right? And then if she say you're a good daughter, and I'm like, well, what made me a good daughter? Because I don't believe it, right? So we really need to understand how powerful this inner critic is, right? So the most important validation you will ever receive is the one that you give yourself, you guys. And if you're not, and if you are consistently looking for someone else to tell you you're worthy, you guys, you will always feel like something is missing. And mind you, that is a daily appetite. So this is not a you the man today, you the woman today, you look good today. This is something that we feed ourselves like we feed our tummies food, like we drink water, right? This is not a one and done thing. I don't know if you guys watch me on the Jessica Reedy Hello Hubby podcast, but one of the analogies that I gave to her was like, when we are traumatized, it is like we're stuck, right? That trauma happened one time and it changed our life forever. Like changed the way our brains wired, right? We remember the image, we remember the thing that happened to the best of our memory, right? But when we start to heal, you guys, it is not a one and done thing, right? You get a cut, that scar is there forever, right? It heals, but it's there forever. Like it ain't going nowhere. Okay. But the thing about it is that when we go on our healing journey, right, that is a daily process. That is why I incorporated, right, these bite-sized life lessons, because healing and expanding is like, what am I telling myself every day? What am I telling myself throughout the day? Right? Because so much is happening. It's like we're losing skin cells, right? We're shedding hair, right? We are and this is just the natural progression of life, right? We're losing skin cells, we're shedding hair, right? So it's as if like I have to remind the new me, right? The new cells me, the new hair follicles me, right? The new vision me, right? I have to continue to tell myself this because there's a part of me that's dying off every day too, right? Just by nature, right? That I'm releasing out of me. And so when we go to expand and we go to grow, you guys, it is important that we're making it a constant part of our everyday walk, everyday talk, everyday position, and not just today. So today I'm going to be confident and I'm going to inject myself with confidence and then I'm going to be confident for the rest of my life. And I think that's how we treat ourselves and that's how we treat our relationships. I'm going to tell you I love you one time and you should know I love you. No, no, no. Like that is an everyday walk. That is a everyday we're showing each other that, because what if the love that experience that you experienced, those brain cells died off? I'm just giving an example, you guys. Those brain cells and those skin cells has shut it off, right? And this new part of me, right, wants to hear that and desires to hear that. All right. If that makes sense, put a 2 in the chat for me. All right. So this week we've been focusing on necessary supports, understanding what real support looks like, how we resist it, how we build sustainable systems that help us grow. But here's the truth, you guys: the most important support system will you will ever have is the one you build within yourself. Many of us spend our lives, you guys, looking for validation from external sources, from our family, from our jobs, from our degrees, from our friends, from even from social media, you guys. How many likes did I get on a post? How many views did I get on a post? Did that mean that that content wasn't good? Did that mean that that post, that they didn't like the picture, right? But what happens when that validation doesn't come? What happens when it doesn't come? Do we shrink? Do we question our worth? Right? Do we hold ourselves back because we're waiting for someone else to confirm that we are capable? Listen, that's where self-validation comes from, right? Today we're shifting our focus inward, you guys, because while external supports is a powerful thing, it will never replace the support that you can give yourself, right? So all week we've been talking about, right, how necessary supports is really important and how we ask for it and how we resist it and things like that. But here's the thing. This is how this conversation truly ties in. We've been conditioned to believe that validation comes from the outside, you guys, that society teaches us to seek approval before we believe in ourselves. But true support starts within, you guys. It doesn't if we don't validate ourselves first, no matter the amount of external validation will ever feel like it's enough, you guys. The strongest foundations of support is self-trust, you guys. If you don't trust your own voice, if you don't trust your own voice, you'll always depend on others to make decisions for you, set your worth, and determine what you're capable of. Listen, necessary supports includes learning to validate yourself. You guys, this is difficult, right? This is difficult, especially when yourself has been judged, right? So the one to say understood gave a heart. Candace said, I used to be insecure like that. So happy I've grown out of that. I'm happy for you too, Candace. Roosevelt said, "Thank God it's Friday," right? Uh, yeah, thank God it's Friday, brother. All right. So listen, learning to validate ourselves, yourself first, is a hard thing, right? Because that voice that you're validating is the voice that you got a whooping for. It is the position that you stood on that you got in punishment for, right? And so changing and shifting that relationship that we have with ourselves, when that self that we are changing our relationship to is sometimes a self that has been rejected, has been disciplined, has been looked at as not enough, right? And so this shift, that 180 shift, like, hey, I'm going to turn towards you. That is a journey. That is a challenging. That's not the easy walk, but it is necessary, right? Because self validation strengthens our external supports. Okay, when you can validate yourself, you attract people, you guys, who respect and reinforce your confidence instead of draining it. Right? You set the standard for how other people treat you. See, that's an inside job. And we're wondering, like, why is the outside not showing up so that I can be infused with it? Well, no, we're coring, and we're coring from the inside. We're ripening from the inside out, right? And so the more aligned I get on the inside, the more strengthened I get on the inside, the more I remind myself of who I am on the inside, right? The more I will start to see it on the outside. Not that it's going to shift everything on the outside, but the more I will start to see the alignments of that on the outside. Listen, external validation may come and go, but self validation, you guys, is the foundation that will always remain, right? The strongest support you have is the belief that you are already enough, you guys. All right. So in this stopping now framework, we've talked about this. The IT, right, is stands for the it factor, right? So I talk about this it factor in the book. Stop It Now. If you haven't got it, you can go to Amazon and get it, right? And this it factor is a real critical part of who we are, because we have the inner voice, right? The inner critic, and then we have the self-talk, right? And so these two, in a sense, they work together, and I talk about that in the book. So So in the framework, this inner critic is there. We talk about it on Friday because we're wrapping up this week, the week of how now what do we have to say about that? What do my inner talk has to say about what I've learned this week? And then what do I need to grow? Because if you don't challenge that voice, you guys, that says that you're not enough, no, in this case, no amount of external validation will ever fill the void for you. All right. So in our old mindset, I need to hear good job to believe that I did well. And then our new mindset is that I trust my judgment, my own judgment. My worth is not based on outside approval. All right. So I know that we have these things called love languages, right? And one of those love languages is words of affirmation, right? And I'm a big words for affirmation person, right? Not because in I because to me that is like you see me, right? And I actually love to be seen, right? And not just seen for my physicalness, but seen for like who I am. And for me, love of affirmation, um, words of affirmation is one of those things that really helps that in my intimate relationships, right? But that but what they see only can be seen because I see it. So I can agree with them when they provide me with these words of affirmation because it's something I know. And now I'm glad that you know it too. Okay? That's how that works, right? So today we're shifting from external validation to self-validation, you guys, because if you're always waiting for approval, you'll always feel like something is missing. Okay, because here's the thing, your confidence is built internally, not externally. Remember, confidence comes from our competency. The more we do something, the more we practice it, and that's in anything in life. So our confidence is built internally, not externally. No one else's approval will ever be enough if you don't approve yourself first. All right. What this means is that means for you is that the first trust. What this means for you is that self trust is the muscle, right? The more you practice validating yourself, the stronger the muscle gets. All right. Imagine how much lighter you would feel if you stopped second guessing yourself, right? If you stop judging yourself for second guessing yourself, right? If you stop waiting for permission, if you stop apologizing for being who you were created to be, right? And who you are, and stop apologizing for who you were created to be and who you are. Imagine just waking up every day knowing that you are enough, not because somebody told you, but because you decided to believe that, you guys. Listen, one of my clients realized that she had spent years waiting for a person to recognize her worth, for people to recognize her worth. But the moment she started validating herself, you guys, she finally felt free, because self-love isn't given to you guys. It is something you claim. Self-love isn't given to you, you guys. It's something that you claim to be true, to experience on your own. All right. And a lot of times, like my client, we're seeking validation from sometimes the people who wounded us, to be honest, from that old relationship, from our parents, right? From people that I know you wronged me, you know you wronged me, right? And I need you to validate that before I can move on, right? And a lot of us are stuck, truly stuck, you guys, in a pain that is undescribable because because we're seeking a validation from somebody else to recognize the hurt that they had caused us. And I'm going to ask you, when they recognize it, when they say, okay, I hurt you, okay, I did that thing, then what? Do you think that the floodgates of this emotion that you've been holding is going to, I don't know, like simmer off of you, right? No, we need to go through the work because we need to go through the work. We need to deal with the pain because we're experiencing the pain. I don't need anybody to validate the experience that I had with anyone, be it that my mom, my dad, my siblings, in a relationship, right? But I get it. I get it, right? In my prior relationships, and a lot of the relationships of my clients in their 20s, 30s, and sometimes even in their 60s, like they want the person to just recognize, like, you hurt my feelings. And it's like it's as if that person doesn't recognize it, I can't move on, right? And we have to self validate that, like, my feelings is hurt, now what am I going to do about this? I'm living in pain, now what am I going to do about this? That affected me, now what am I going to do about this? And not wait for somebody else to say, I know I hurt you, so now I give you permission to do something about that. Or, I know I hurt you, and now what do you want me to do to help you heal? Right? I get it. I get that that's what you desire. But what if they never recognize it? What if they don't want to do nothing? What if their intention was they was hurting so they wanted to hurt you? Right? They were ignorant. What if they don't even remember it the way you remembered it? Okay? So we have to go into this self-validation where what we experience, we know we experience, and if it's pain or trauma or hurt or a deficit in any type of way, dis-ease, that we do the work that we need to do to get ourselves right. Okay? And then pray for the other person. All right? Because here's the thing, research shows that a study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology shows that people who develop self-validation practices, guess what? They experience a 30% decrease in anxiety and self-doubt, and 40% increase in confidence and personal fulfillment. Because guess what? I'm taking control of my life. Listen, I talk about this too. I've been in a relationship where I felt like I was dying on the inside, hoping that this person would just just show up as the potential I think you are. And all the time I'm dying on the inside. Wait, something gotta happen. I worked with a client, you guys, who was married, and they had been separated for 3 years, and like didn't have any, like, hadn't wrote off their and the client was a male that I was working with. His wife had been off, she's dating and all of that. And he was so angry. Like, he just couldn't believe, like, she could just go off and leave. And this was still his wife. And I'm just like, yeah, like, the thoughts that reeled in his mind about what she should be doing and how she should be working in our work together was like, I don't know her like that, but what can we do? What can you and I do to heal you, right? And to take some ownership and all of that. And when I tell you that his business proceeds shot up, right? He worked two businesses, they shot up. His anxiety dropped. He started dating again. He signed for the divorce, right? Because he didn't carry that weight anymore, you guys, right? So this 30% decrease in anxiety and in self-doubt and 40% increase in confidence, isn't that something that you would want to experience in your life, right? And a lot of times we're not experiencing it because we're waiting for someone else who's holding our energy to give it back to me, when you have the power to claim it yourself. That is mine and I want it back. And do something about it to transmute that energy, to transform it to your highest best self. All right. Because listen, your inner critic doesn't have to be the loudest. Your inner critic doesn't have to be the loudest voice in your head, or your inner critic doesn't have to be the loudest voice in your life. So tell me, what is one way that you will validate yourself today? All right. If that makes sense, if you like that, put a heart in the chat for me. Put a heart in the chat for me. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to our biblical wisdom. All right. Uh, our biblical wisdom today comes from Psalms 134 and 14. You guys, 134 and 14. Listen, I praise you because I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Psalms 31:13 39:14 says, I praise you because I am full, fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Like, okay, what does this really mean? And we hear this verse, right? Like, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, right? Some of us have it pent on our boards, right? Right. What it means is that your worth is not uh, up for debate. Your worth is not up. We're not going to talk about if I'm worthy or not, if I'm valuable or not. That's not even up for debate. I am. Let's move on. That is not a cocky thing. That is not a you feel like you the stuff thing. You know what that is? That is, I know it, I claim it because I was built like that. Right? That's like telling me I ain't black. That's like telling me I'm not a woman, right? Like, I am worthy and I am valuable, and that is not up for debate. We wouldn't, I got 5 fingers. We wouldn't debate about that, right? And so some of us are debating our worth and trying to prove it. But that's like trying to prove that you blackity black, right? Or trying to prove that you're a woman, right? Like if we look at it like that, it's a given, okay? But if we are fearfully and wonderfully made, then nothing. Listen, no opinion, no mistake, no external approval can change that. Nothing can change that. All right. If you felt that, put a 3 in the chat for me. Okay. If you felt that, put a 3 in the chat while I sip on my coffee. All right. Self validation begins with self recognition, you guys. When you acknowledge your own value, you stop waiting for someone else to confirm it for you, actually. Okay. This verse is an invitation to believe in yourself, you guys, the way that God, the creator of all things, the ever present, already does, right? It's not about waiting for worthiness, you guys. It's about accepting that you were already created with it, that you were already created with it. You were already created with it. And for some reason, we've been taught that this is something I got to go out and work for. If my intention is because I'm worthy, because I'm valuable, I now go out and do things from the intention of so that thing right there I deserve respect because I'm worthy and valuable. I deserve the, I don't know, highest paid the number one coaching business, right? I deserve to be a great speaker, right? And I'm going to do what's required because that's deserving of me because I was created that way. That's a whole different level of energy than I want to become a great speaker to show that I am worthy. I want to, get your respect because once I get it, then I know that I'm worthy. Yeah, I want you to love me because when you love me, then I will know that I'm worthy. No, I feel like you should be loving me because I'm worthy and enough for the love that God has bestowed in you to experience in my presence. And I'm worthy of the love that God has bestowed on me for me to experience in yours. Okay. All right. So this verse is an invitation to believe in yourself, you guys, the way God already does. It is not about waiting for your worthiness. It's about accepting that you are already created with it. All right. Listen, true support starts within. You can't, if you can't recognize your own value, no amount of external validation will ever feel like it's enough. You were already created. You were already created as enough. The real work is learning to believe it. Listen, you were already created as worthy. The real work is learning to believe it. And my question to you is, are you willing to do the work that you need to do to learn to believe that thing, that you are enough? All right. And then our promise verse. Hey, if you like that, put a 5 in the chat for me. Right? If you like that, put a 5 in the chat for me. All right. Um, our promise verse. Do not throw away your confidence. Do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded, you guys. Do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded. That's Hebrew 10 and 35, you guys. What does this mean? Confidence is a choice. It's not something we wait to receive, right? It's something that we choose to hold on to even when it's being tested. If you consistently doubt yourself, you block your own rewards, you guys. When you validate yourself, you open doors. But if you wait for permission to believe in yourself, those same doors, listen, they remain closed. You don't need someone else to give you permission to be confident. Confident isn't about proving anything. It's about knowing that you already have what it takes, you guys, because of that competency. I already know that I can do that because I've done it so much. I love this verse too because it says, don't throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded. What does that mean? That my confidence will be blessed. And how many of us have what's called false humility? Like, oh, you too confident, you too cocky. Like you shouldn't be that. And so we will do what? We will throw our confidence away. We will in some way shrink ourselves. We will act in a way that's like, I was built to be a 12-foot woman, but I'm acting like I'm 8 foot, right? Because I want to be validated by you. But this scripture reminds us that, listen, do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded. Now, it may not be rewarded by the people that you want it to be rewarded by, but they'll come along. They'll come along. They might be at the tail end, but they will start to shift and see. Okay. But a lot of us have what's called false humility, where we are shrinking. Like, I don't want to appear confident. And sometimes we done got our confidence whooped out of us. Like, who is you to feel this confident? If that makes sense, put a 6 in the chat. But what this scripture reminds us, this promise says, hey, don't throw away that thing. Don't throw away your confidence, right? Because that will be rewarded. So show up black and proud, right? Show up bold and beautiful. Listen, show up fearfully and wonderfully made. Listen, show up as the kings and the queens that we have been entrusted to be, right? Because that will be richly rewarded, you guys. All right. Okay. If that makes sense. Thank you, Toto. Put a 7 in the chat for us to see. All right. So here's the thing. This the support you give yourself determines the support that you accept from other people, you guys. If you don't believe in your own confidence, you will always allow people to undervalue you, you guys. You will always uh, allow people to mistreat you, to make you question yourself. Okay? But when you own your confidence, honey, and that thing becomes rewarded, these are the rewards you get. Now you're attracting people, right? You're attracting the wealth. You're attracting the peace. You're igniting the peace. They're activating the peace that's already inside of you, activating the love that's already inside of you, right? And the opportunities that really align in that energy, right? I see you. I see you confident. I love that about you. Keep doing that, girl. Keep doing that, man. Show up, king. Show up, queen. Whatever those terms are. Listen, don't throw that confidence away because it will be rewarded. And if you don't got it, like the question asks, what are you going to do to learn to get it? Because maybe it is a learning curve, right? Lessons, we learn math, not because math, that's our first existence. Math is always going to be there, but we have to learn how to what? Add, subtract. Not that we invented it. We just got to learn how to do that thing that already is there, right? We got to learn a lot of stuff in life. So learning doesn't mean that your worth is not already there, but maybe there is a learning curve that you need to take to get on the inside to the confidence, to the love, to the acceptance, to the enoughness that is already in you. And you need to learn some things to get you there, right? And that's okay. That's okay. All right. Listen, Psalms 134 and 14, the principal verse, which was you were created with worth. You were created with worth. let me say, I'm sorry. The principal verse, 113 and 14 says you were created with worth. You don't need to earn it, right? You just need to own that. Okay. And then Hebrews 10 and 35 promise, that promise verse really is this: confidence is a choice. Don't throw it away. Don't throw it away by consistently doubting yourself, you guys. Don't throw it away. All right. The most important validation you will ever receive is the one you give yourself, you guys. The one that you give yourself. It's kind of like a mark of approval. I was created like this, and now I step and I mark that. God has already done that for me, and I'm in agreement with God. God has already created worthiness in me, and I'm in agreement with that. The source of all things that created said I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. Hey, who am I to disagree? Hey, you know, all things are always working for my good. Hey, he said it, not me. I'm going to agree with that, right? Let's keep the party going in a sense, okay? And again, to take on that mindset, you guys, when for years, centuries, decades, millennia, right? This thing has been ripped from our ancestors, right? From my grandmother, from my grandfather, from your grandmother, your grandfather, right? For years and years, that you are not enough. Your skin is not enough. Your hair is not enough. Your beauty is not enough, right? So I get it. I get it, right? So I'm not saying this from this cocky place. Like, I get it. But when we gonna learn? When are we going to look at and research our creation enough to learn that, oh, they did that for a reason, right? When I talk about systemic barriers and systemic these systemic things that were put in place to create these systematic barriers that we experience, yeah, it's real, right? The green lining and all of that stuff, that's real. All right. But how do I be the change that I want to see in the world, right? A lot of us is fighting for a greater cause that's greater than ourselves. And I applaud that. I applaud it all day, right? But there's two ends to the stick. If I'm burning it out here, right, and I'm doing all this community work, but I ain't doing it back here and fueling myself and reminding myself of who I was created to be, right? It's like it ain't working. I gotta start here. I gotta remind myself to really even be able to have the fruit to sustain that fight on the outside. Okay. And again, like I said, it's definitely been a systemic issue that has come up within our generations because of, intentionally, a lot of this stuff has been ripped away from us, and our families have been pulled apart, right? And how we see ourselves as women, and what does it mean to be a black man, and what does it mean to be a woman, and what does it mean to be an African American woman, and what does it mean to be a mom, and what does it mean to be a professional, right? But as those walls come tumbling down, and we have to relearn who we were created to be, right? I just say, okay, as we have to relearn, not as we have to relearn, as these walls start tumbling down, it's time for us to relearn. It is time for us to relearn who we were created to be. Okay, if that makes sense, put a 1 in the chat. I mean, put a 7 in the chat for me. All right. Thank you guys so much. I love our conversation today. So, listen, here's a key: the most important validation you can ever receive is the one you give yourself. And if you're consistently looking for someone else to tell you you're worthy, you'll always feel like something is missing, right? So, what would you change if you would fully believe in yourself today? What would you change if you fully believed in yourself today, you guys? All right. If you like that, if that made sense to you, listen, put an 8 in the chat for me. Put an 8 in the chat for me. And let's go to our transformational tool. Our transformational tool today, I'm just trying to make sure. Our transformational tool today. Listen. Our action step, listen, write down 3 things you admire about yourself. 3. Not based on what other people think, but like what you admire about yourself, right? For example, for me, it'll be like my feet. I like my feet, right? Like nobody sees these feet, right? But when I see them, I'm like, I really like those. You got some pretty feet, right? Um, yeah. So, so identify those 3 things that you admire about you. Okay. I actually like how my thoughts work, my brain, right? Um, yeah, 3. Yep, 3. Okay. So then say them out loud to yourself in the mirror. Hmm. Say them to yourself in the mirror. Hmm. Have you ever tried to say to yourself in the mirror, I love you? You know, like there's an exercise where you have to tell yourself, I love you. You look at one eye, and tell yourself, I love you 10 times. Then you look in your other eye, tell yourself, I love you 10 times. Then you look in the other eye, tell yourself you love yourself 10 times, right? Then you look at yourself, oh no, the other eye, then you look at yourself just in the mirror, right? Sometimes it's the most uncomfortable thing, right? To look at yourself and do that work, but it works, right? And here's why it worked, because you start to feel the awkwardness. See, life is about emotions, and we start to feel like that. This is awkward. I'm just gonna look in the mirror and tell myself I love myself in one eye, another eye. Yes, yes, you are, right? Because we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable with ourselves. And when we can be uncomfortable with ourselves, guess what? Then we can be uncomfortable with other people. Like your uncomfortableness, it don't make me want to run. Like I could sit here and be uncomfortable while you having this conversation about your feelings and your thoughts, because I done already said what's uncomfortable in me, so I ain't scared of that no more. And guess what? That uncomfortableness that I'm sitting with when I'm looking at myself and I'm saying I'm enough and I'm talking to myself in the mirror and I'm looking at myself and I'm saying like, hey, these are 3 things I like about myself, and I'm gonna say them out loud to myself, and you hear that inner critic, like, yeah, you doing this. She got you doing this crazy stuff. We don't do this, right? All of that gonna come up, right? It's as if when you start focusing on you, it's as if like an arena of like spectators in your mind is like, are you finna do this? Like, you're really finna do this? And all these voices come up, and we just go, doody doody doo. Yep, I'm gonna do it. While I'm hearing the voice, while you're speaking to me, while I'm hearing this is great, I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna do it over and over again. Because guess what? Guess what I'm teaching myself? That my voice matters. And if you want to say my voice matters too, right? That this voice has been guiding me for so long. But guess what? There is a dominant voice, my voice, and it matters too. And so I'm going to do the thing I want to do while I hear you in my head screaming and talking all of this stuff, because I think that that's another thing we don't give ourselves permission to do. We have these voices in our head, but we don't even want to admit that there's these voices guiding us, right? And sometimes they're whispers and sometimes they're not voices, they're just feelings. Like I always say that I don't see visions, right? I don't actually see people faces, or some people are very visual. I'm not a visual person. I'm more of a understanding person. Like, oh, I understand that. I understand the color red. I don't see the color red, right? So we're all created differently. All right. I don't see the color red in my head, but I understand what, when somebody say red, like there's a firm understanding of that. But we're all visual people. We all have voices that are influencing us, right? So these, like you hear me say, as I'm talking right now, you are having a conversation in your head about what I am saying. And either that conversation is agreeing with me and saying, oh yeah, that makes sense. Or like, yeah, that's crazy. I ain't never heard that. And it's okay to be aware of this voice, right? And if it's a voice that is not in alignment with the direction that you're going, yeah, then become the dominant voice. No, we're going this way. We're going to do this. So again, we're going to write down the 3 things that we admire about ourselves. We're going to look at ourselves in the mirror. We're going to tell ourselves that we like those 3 things about ourselves, and then to replace one of commit to replacing one self-doubting thought with a self-validation truth today. All right. Good morning, mama. Mama Sharon. Good morning. All right. And so our affirmation for today is going to be I am enough. I trust my voice. I validate myself. My worth is not based on external approval. I am already whole. All right. So we're going to say that out loud again. I am enough. I trust my voice. I validate myself. My worth is not based on external approval. I am already whole. I am already whole. Okay. Hey, Miss Jackie. Good morning. Thanks for coming on. All right. And you guys already know what we do. Uh, did I already put today's intention? Today's intention? Yeah, I trust myself, validate myself, and believe in my worth. All right. Now, you guys already know what to do. If today's session resonated with you, drop a fire in the chat. Listen, let's celebrate our growth. Because remember, if you can shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life, you guys. If you can shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life. All right. And then our bonus for today is for the next 24 hours. Listen, pay attention to, for the next 24 hours, you guys, pay attention to when you seek external validation. Listen, catch yourself and practice self validating it instead. Okay. And then you can always drop your insight in the comments. Uh, Remember, you can join Project Life, that $47 membership a month. That's where we talk about these things that we're talking about. So this week we talked about necessary supports. We had a conversation in the group last night about what that meant. So we're taking it from a very general level to a more sustained level for you as an individual. And then you can go into legacy where you do more training with me. All right. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hey, Miss Jackie. Yeah, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So go over to I Am Shaping Solutions on YouTube. I do plan on, doing the Elevating Life podcast over there. If you guys remember the What Will My Daddy Say show, like have him come on a little bit, but just really trying to get the message out there. And hey, it's the end of February. We've been here for 4 weeks. You've been here 4 weeks with me, right? And we talked about lemons, right? We talked about lack. We talked about the lemons condition, lacking the energy, the motivational, organizational skills, and unnecessary support. So we talked about lack on the first week of February. We talked about energy on the second week, right? Motivation, obstacles, right? And this week we talked about necessary supports. Those 4 weeks, if they have transformed your life in a way that you didn't even expect when you started off in February, hey, why don't you invite a friend, right? Invite a friend to subscribe, invite a friend to the community, right? Or just write a post or a testimonial. Hey, if y'all ain't in the Elevating Life with Sheila Little Life Lessons morning group, y'all missing out. Because guess what? Next month, we're talking about stories. And y'all know that I am, hey, to become the number one character in your life, we need to create that story. So next month, the month of March, we're going to march right into our life by creating a narrative and learning how to create a narrative that fits who we are, you guys. If that makes sense, yeah, put a heart in the chat. All right. So yeah, I thank you guys. I'm so excited and I'm ready. Right. I'm ready. Thank you guys for being here this month of February with me as we end up this living condition. Remember, we're at Project Life, you guys. We're at Project Life, you guys. Where we turn theory, listen, into practice. I'm sorry about that. Where we turn theory into practice, you guys. I love you, and I will see you Monday when we start to talk about stories this month of March. All right. I love you. Till later. Thank you, Miss Jackie. She said, I sure will invite my friends. Thank you, Miss Jackie. Till later.